Even
is
if you
lighter
put it in a
than
medium.
helium. Yeah. As far as I understand, hydrogen is the lightest gas in the universe.
Correct.
As far as I understand it.
Correct, which again goes back to my point. Helium would fall in a medium of hydrogen. So helium does not always rise.
Is it least heavier or least dense? That's the question.
Well, I mean, I was giving it some thought the other day about this. What is a pure vacuum? Does it really exist?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't exist.
We've only got space, which is claimed to be the best vacuum they know about, but it's not a perfect vacuum up either, supposedly.
So then, if somebody were, for example, in space, then basically outside of what we know and can see, if there is an atmosphere there, as thin as it might be, is it possible that the reason why our atmosphere is where it is a result of this density layer, if you like?
Okay, think about it this way. Let's just do a simple thought experiment, and I hope it will answer your question. Let's say you're in a house which is hermetically sealed. Okay? Yep. Can you imagine that? Yeah, it's a 1 psi atmosphere pressure. So now I'm gonna hire a crane, put another house right on top of the other house that you in.
Yep.
Okay, and I hermetically seal that as well. Now I'm gonna pump all the air out from the house that is put on top of you, and I create a hole between the two houses, and I sealed it. So between you in the house and the house above you, there is a pressure differential. One above you is 10 to the minus 17, which is described by NASA as a vacuum of deep space. And the one you in, which is 1 psi.
Okay.
So if you're imagining that there's such a force that holds the atmosphere to a ball in space surrounded by 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, you would therefore conclude that once I pull the plug between your two containers, the atmosphere pressure will be such that to determine the validity of your argument, which is you're going to end up in the pressure, atmospheric pressure, the one that you can survive in versus the house above you. What do you think is going to happen once I pull the plug between those two structures?
Well, obviously, the higher pressure air will try and move to the lower pressure air.
Well, no, the gas is going to move up. The up is the key word here.
Well,
I didn't put the house next to you, right? I put it above you, didn't I? If you think the gravity is strong enough to retain the atmospheric pressure, right?
Well, this is the thing. I'm not saying gravity is doing that. I'm asking, is there
whatever force. I don't care what you call it. So once I pull the plug,
asking you.
Hold on, I'm asking questions here. Once I pull a plug, what's going to happen to your atmosphere? What's going to happen to the pressure of gas?
So I'm in a house at ground level. You put one on top, and you don't do anything other than seal them both, and then you put a hole that links the two together.
That's right.
So there's no temperature change, there's no pressure change. You just literally made a vent that goes from one house to another. That's it.
That's right. That's it.
So nothing happens then.
What do you mean nothing happened? You don't think the gas is going to escape from your chamber to the other chamber?
I wouldn't say escape would be the word. I'd say exchange, yes.
Exchange. The pressure will equalize. Is that correct?
Depends how big a difference in height it is.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It would depend upon how high up we are and how big a difference there is. with respect to the pressure from one vessel to the next.
So you're saying that the pressure is going to be different once I pull the plug?
I don't know. You're asking me to imagine.
Let me save you the trouble. Let me save you the trouble. The pressure will equalize instantaneously. And I mean,
yeah, okay.
That's not assumption. That's the reality of our world. The pressure will equalize instantaneously.
By how much?
It will fill exactly the space it needs to fill above on the chamber above. It's going to have the equal pressure. Let's for the mathematical simplicity. If I have a pressure above you 0 and you sitting at 1, once I pull the plug, granted that my chamber and your chamber equal in size, the pressure that you and I will experience will be 0.5. Do you agree?
Now you've confused me, because I asked you, are both these compartments at the same pressure? You said yes, which is why my answer was nothing will happen, or very little.
No, but when you say that, it kind of goes, it's a non sequitur. I told you think of perfect vacuum. As far as we understand it, from NASA's mouth, it's 10 to the minus 17 torr value. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, let's just speak mathematically. The chamber above you sits at the pressure 0. I'm not saying it exists, just mathematically speaking. Okay? You sitting at the pressure 1. Once I pull a plug between you and I, provided that your chamber and my chamber of an equal size, wouldn't you agree that your pressure will equalize to 0.5 to be equal to the pressure above the chamber above you, which was 0 until you pulled the plug, now becoming 0.5?
Well, now that you've told me that the apartment above is a vacuum, which you said was not earlier, then yes, the overall pressure would halve to compensate and fill the vacuum.
That's also assuming that the above vacuum is of a set size, not infinite. So
yeah.
Set size. Okay, so hold on. So it's going to be half, right? We agree. It's very simple math.
Well, okay.
Okay. So what if I put the chamber above you twice the size that the chamber you were in? What's going to happen to the pressure in your chamber?
Same circumstances?
Yeah.
Well, then it'll be thirds. This is Boyle's law.
No, it would not be thirds, my friend. It's going to be quarter.
No, that'd be a fourth.
No, it would be thirds.
Let's imagine the chamber is going to be 100 times bigger than you're in. What's going to happen to your atmospheric pressure?
Well, it's going to be 1/100ths.
Okay, what about 1,000 times?
This is fractions. This is not hard.
Exactly. Oh, okay. So what if I put infinite size chamber above you and you pull the plug? What's going to happen to your atmosphere in your house?
Of course, eventually right. So we're talking about infinite possibilities now, which is out of the realms of mathematics, because we have to have fixed values to work with.
Okay, let's put a number to it. Oh, hold on a second.
Fixed value.
Let's put a number to it. 1 trillion times bigger than your house. What's going to happen to it? What's going to happen to the pressure in your chamber?
Well, it becomes so thin that eventually it will not be a true vacuum, but there will be an atmosphere.
Right, it's going to be atmosphere in which you will not be able to survive. Agreed?
Well, naturally.
Naturally, yes. So now think of it as the ball, as it perceived by you, covered by the pressurized gas in an infinite vacuum chamber. It's an oxymoron of space.
You're just ignoring gravity.
Which one?
Rebel, have you just called me an earther?
You're just
Did I
ignoring
call
the
it
force
nothing?
that actually holds the atmosphere here. You're just assuming that it doesn't exist.
No, I didn't assume anything. I've asked the questions about a differential of pressure, to which I've got
Yeah, and
I've
you're
got an
asking about
answer.
the
Is going to be the
differential pressure
fraction. It's going to be. Well, I told him he's on the ground in the house. Are
Yeah,
you
but-
saying that?
but
Are you
you've also-
saying that you're going to end up with an atmospheric pressure with which you can breathe, having the chamber above you and pulling the plug?
There's
That
no
wasn't-
chamber above you. That's the problem. There's no chamber. There's no
Dude,
chamber.
it's an
anywhere.
example. I'm not saying there is. Okay,
Yeah, but
keep
I-
up with
I-
the class, please.
I wasn't asking that. I was asking, is there a possibility, right? Because you've also made an assumption on my behalf. You've literally told me that I believe the world is round. You just said that. You just said that to
I
me.
don't presume anything other than what you told us. You said you presumed you on the sphere ball.
I never said that. I'm on the fence. I said that from the very off. I said I'm neither for nor against, and I'm here to learn. And you just accused me of being a round earther. What the hell's that about?
Okay, so you're now drawing a straw man, because when somebody says they're on the fence, my presumption is they have no argument that convinces them for or against globe or flat earth, correct?
Correct.
That's not a straw man. That's
Right.
just in the middle.
Exactly. So I'm I'm taking you, forgive my language, by the short hair, and putting you on one side of the fence and demonstrating the absurdity of it. For you to then,
Yeah.
therefore,
He's on-
making a logical conclusion whether you're on that ridiculous side of the fence or the other.
If he no wait, hold up. If he's on one or the other side, you have to give both arguments and ask which one he agrees with.
Dude, I've
can't
been
just
nothing
give
but
one and then-
transparent. We were talking about gas pressure, okay?
I know you were, but if you're trying to talk about gas pressure, you have to give both sides and then ask which one seems more reliable, rather than give one side which disproves the other. That's just being fair to him. He's on the fence. That's all. Sorry.
I think you're dividing my thoughts here, bro. If somebody's on the fence-
kind of jump in late. That's my bad.
Yeah, if somebody's on the fence, my job is to put somebody's on the fence to one or the other side of an argument to demonstrate whether that side of argument is true or false. Once that person
Okay,
determines
sorry.
that side of argument to be true, therefore the other side of argument is false, and vice versa.
Okay, yeah. Just so I can double check, so it's not like one-sided here. You were giving him like an argument that disproves the other side, right?
Sorry, me? Were you talking to me there, or Rebel?
No, I'm talking to him. He was giving you an argument that like this tries to like invalidate the other side, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, don't worry then. My bad. Don't worry. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Any other questions, Wizard?
Well, I mean, we're still talking. So basically, what Rebel's saying here, if I understand correctly, is that we live in a container.
No. So when you imply in a container, hold on a second. That is a very pertinent moment here. That is a misconception. When somebody implies a container, hold on a second, please. They mean that there is a space of the 10 to the 17th minus 17 power of vacuum around the container. Nobody has claimed that. Okay? We don't know where we're in. I've never claimed it as a container or dome or any structure of any sorts. I'm
Just trying to
merely
validate the like understanding of gas pressure contained within a vacuum, right?
Yeah, but they only need containment for gas pressure system if we are in fact controlled by a vacuum. So if the vacuum beyond the common line, we even doing anything.
no. When you say container, you're implying that there is a pressure differential between what's inside a container versus outside a container. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know about existence of a container. Moreover, I don't know even if it exists. I don't know what's outside. So the term container doesn't imply. I've never claimed container
Okay.
or anything that exists beyond the container, even if it exists.
Okay. So I'm asking, what is your impression of what keeps our atmosphere where we are then?
I don't know. I don't demonstrate it to you. It's not a vacuum of space or gravity.
I never.
So
I never
that can we agree that it's not a gravity superimposed onto the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum?
Okay, right. This is what I'll acknowledge. This is what I'm taking away from this conversation, right?
Okay.
I'm taking away this. You don't understand what is actually holding the atmosphere where it is, right? As an honest opinion, right? And gravity
Correct.
is something else that somebody's made up to explain that,
But they don't
because they
explain it.
haven't got anything else to explain why it either.
Correct. You're dead on. Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
So
Okay.
So I have no determinate answer for you as to
Would it be
what.
reasonable to say that gravity? You are saying that gravity is not the reason, but there's something else.
I believe, well, that's why I shot out the question earlier. Do you think that the static and magnetic fields could be responsible for holding our atmosphere in place? Because if it's not this gravity, which may or may not exist, because it's just a word and it's just used to describe a force or something like that, then it's better than nothing in some people's mind, because it helps them comprehend what they can't. But at the same time, if you don't understand what's holding the atmosphere in place as well, then for me, it's a case of, well, maybe it is this static thing that's holding it down, and I just wanted to see if there's any validation behind that. Excuse me, the phone's ringing. I'll be right back.
Okay. Is it Rebel? Are you the one talking to him?
That's so rude, y'all. Y'all are so rude.
Yes, I was.
Okay, I just want to, because I kind of jumped in
All my trash
halfway,
around
so
my
I'm really
car,
sorry that
nobody
I kind of
would just
interjected
take
like
it.
that.
I'll take
I
care
just want to
of
understand
it.
your position is the fact that it's not
should be
necessarily that
ashamed.
you
Both
know
of
what
you
else is
should.
causing
One
it.
at a time, man.
It's just the gravity, right? It's not gravity's not the reason, right?
One person at a time. Can you repeat that? Please don't interrupt him.
I just wanted to understand that your position is the fact that gravity isn't the reason the atmosphere's here, and that there's either a container or some other reason, right?
No, well, if you're claiming gravity, bro, then anyone that claims it, they need to be able to cite a reference to prove it. And as we've found for years, there is no proof for either of these gravity explanations, either Newtonian or Einsteinian. So,
I'm
it's
not
almost
assuming that. I'm
else.
just asking his position.
I was the one who was asked the question. Can I please respond, for the sake of God?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please.
Yes, I've demonstrated for all to see that the gravity, as it understood in the mainstream science to be, which I don't adhere to,
Yeah.
cannot be reason the atmosphere is here. Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
That's cool. Cheers. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm assuming the other guy stated that he was on the fence. So is he just like kind of in between the two and doesn't really know what is what?
Right. The only reason I think the people are on the fence to the intellect of the previous person who spoke to me, who is very intellectual, I can tell you that, is an idea of not perceiving the alternative. And you know what? Neither do I. I have no fucking clue what's the alternative is. What I can tell you is not gravity. And I can tell you more, that pressure of gas cannot exist next to the vacuum of space. You just can't. That's all I can tell you, beyond which I cannot go further because I have no scientific, observational, or even circumstantial evidence.
Okay, would I, just to double check, would I be right in stating that you think or believe, I don't know, I don't want to like assume either or, that gravity works, like the model works, but you believe, I think it's like reasonable to say that the model is like retrospectively added in to make it work, right?
It's an explanation. An explanation doesn't prove anything. You can give any explanation to anything.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
when the word gravity is mentioned, okay, that's a chasm we're looking at.
Okay.
When the gravity is mentioned, and I've been witness to the arguments of this kind many times, and I wanted to jump into the conversation to clarify this point, and that is when the word gravity is mentioned, it can imply one of two things. One of which is a mass attracting mass. Second is a force we know nothing about that keeps everything down and dictates the equilibrium of density. Okay.
Would you mean mass?
So we're not talking. So are we talking about mass attracting mass, or the density equilibrium?
Mass attracting mass is already gone.
Yeah, mass attracting mass is
It's
honestly already
been
gone.
thrown out.
Yeah.
Right. Can I just add a little something in there, Rebel? Right. Basically, it's important to understand to the guy that's asking the questions that, you're talking about gravity, but the actual Earth as a globe hasn't been proven yet. That's why this server's here. And it's clearly obvious that those who wish to deceive us have created this thing called gravity to explain why the oceans don't fly off a spinning ball, the Earth ball, yeah? Okay? So the problem there that you have is that you need to prove to everyone, to yourself, that the Earth as a globe of the certain specific size and radius does actually exist. Once you have that nailed down, then you can begin to talk about gravity. Another point to remember, Sir Isaac Newton couldn't prove it. Fact. Secondly, he disagreed with the idea of mass attracting mass, okay? And he said that anybody who thought of that was an idiot, basically. It's an absurd idea. And anybody who had any serious cognitive ability would agree.